the people that are the most successful when it comes to pitching the media or being guests on shows are the ones that are proactively looking at what does the next 6 or 12 months look like. So now there's like this, I really hope you're taking time off this time of year, but essentially most people are kind of pulling back on the marketing. They're pulling back on social. The eyeballs are probably lower, but the ones that are showing the momentum that keeps showing up are the ones that are going to get the spotlight because nobody else is doing it. Hey, it's Renee. Welcome to the Into the Wild Show, the podcast for women who want to build incredible mental strength to level up their business and lifestyle. I'm Renee Warren, the founder of We Wild Women, author, speaker, award-winning entrepreneur, and your host. Together, we will make you unapologetic about shining your light, growing your business, and turning you into a wildly confident and successful leader. This is for you, the visionary, the go-getter, the entrepreneur, and for those that need a real kick in the butt to get going and to dream bigger. Each week, I bring in leading experts and entrepreneurs to help you take leaps in the right direction because I know the best advice comes from someone who has successfully done it before. So, are you ready to level up? Welcome to Into the Wild. Hey, you wild women. Welcome back to Into the Wild. We have another solo quickie coming at you. I am recording this from the Waldorf Astoria in Laguna Beach. And let me tell you, typically when I'm looking out these windows when I'm in California, I see sun and beach, but right now it is gray and it's gloomy. And all this to say, it's all by design. Here's the thing, is my previous episode on 219, I talked about taking imperfect action. And here I am with no microphone, none of the tools I need to actually have a really good sounding recording this episode because it needs to get done, right? It's not about perfection. It's about getting it done. And even before this, I was messaging with my assistant, Morgan. I was like, hey, Morgan, ideas for the next solo episode. And she threw out this idea about talking about what it means to be pitching during the holiday season. So as we're going into this time of year, it is the week in the season of Black Friday, Cyber Monday, American Thanksgiving. And oftentimes this time of year, there's people on vacation or they're overworked and they're not really checking emails. Like as I'm looking at my inbox right now, email, coming in. It's like people are hyperloading this time of year in preparation for the holidays. However, I do want to say this. As someone who's been in PR for years, I know that I've worked with many people through creating a strategy or through actually doing their PR as a retainer. There's something really important to note about this time of year. We're destined to eventually have a few days off. It's inevitable. Really, what I wanted to talk to you about is how this isn't necessarily the time of year to stop marketing, to stop promoting yourself. And here's why. Because everyone else has been taught to stop pitching or to slow it down this time of year, and there's reasons why it's good, reasons why it's bad, is that if you're one of the few people that are actually pitching, and if it's timely and relevant, then your email will get opened or get noticed because there's not an influx of emails. So we're really coming out of the busy time of year for podcast hosts and journalists that have been hyper pitched because, we're going into the holiday seasons and people are taking those vacations. But it's actually a really good time to either strategize or to lay out those pitches. But there's a couple things that I wanted to talk to you about. Before we dive into this, though, I do want to say, tune into episode 219 where I talk about taking imperfect action, because as you'll notice, even the sound on this is a little different. And if you're watching the reels, even the video recording is probably not as best quality because I'm just doing it. It's creating that momentum and sustaining that momentum. So if you've created the strategy or if you worked with me and you're implementing a PR strategy, it's all about sustaining that momentum. Don't give up. Don't go on vacation. When you create the momentum, you cannot stop it. So we're going into the holiday season. There's no point at all right now, the time of this recording, November 15th, to be pitching anything related to the holidays. It's done unless there's last minute queries by journalists. It is over. It is almost even over for New Year. However, if you're in an industry where the first quarter of the year is really important for you because maybe it's health and nutrition or something to do with your industry, you can still pitch. And arguably, you should be looking at the calendar and considering what days of the week that are not related to Cyber Monday, Black Friday, Thanksgiving, holiday stuff that is a decent time to pitch, and carve out that time to reach out to journalists or podcast hosts. But here's what you should be pitching this time of year. And here's what you should be doing this time of year. First of all, it's a really good time of year to be pitching evergreen content. So evergreen content is essentially the content that isn't really related to a specific time of year. So it's not holidays, it's not New Year's or Valentine's Day. It is just evergreen content. Whether this is relevant for the audience now or in a few months, if you're landing great pitches in somebody's inbox, it will eventually be seen. And if not, we talk about the follow-up. And if you have any questions about pitching and follow-up, you know to DM me on Instagram, Renee_Warren. The second most important thing too is to remember, don't pitch and make it about the holidays. If you've listened to any of my shows, you must be looking at the next 3 to 6 months. What's coming up in the next 3 to 6 months? If you have anything related to Valentine's Day, then now's the time to be pitching for that. And what's after Valentine's Day? Let's start preparing the strategy for spring or Mother's Day and even Father's Day. So if you had the chance to attend my preloaded marketing year workshop that I hosted about a month ago, I talk all about this. The recording is actually in the Facebook group, which we'll put in the show notes below. If you're not already a member, jump in and join. You'll get access to the free recording of the preloaded marketing year. In it, I talk about the importance of looking at the 30,000-foot view of your entire year to plop in the big nuggets, whether this is a launch, an announcement, or something huge that's happening. Because what you have to do is you have to wrap your promotion around that time. And when it comes to PR, the lead times are like 3, 6, 9 months, even 12 months. I've said this before on several shows and even in interviews that I've pitched podcasts that replied to a pitch 6 months later. It's just things take time. Typically, things take a lot longer than we expect. And especially when it comes to being a guest on a show, or TV or radio even, is they might say yes to a pitch now, but then it could take 2 months to actually set up the interview and then plug you in 2 or 3 months later. So you're looking at half a year. This stuff takes a long time. The people that are the most successful when it comes to pitching the media or being guests on shows are the ones that are proactively looking at what does the next 6 or 12 months look like. So now there's like this, I really hope you're taking time off this time of year, but essentially, most people are kind of pulling back on the marketing. They're pulling back on social. The eyeballs are probably lower, but the ones that are showing the momentum that keeps showing up are the ones that are going to get the spotlight because nobody else is doing it, even when it comes to pitching. So another thing that works this time of year too is predictions for the new year. If you're in an industry that talks about like, hey, the top 10 trends we see for 2024, make it work for your industry. If you're an expert in a specific niche, look for the journalists, look for the publicists, look for the podcast hosts that are talking about these lists for the new year in your industry. It could be marketing tools, it could be the top AI tools, it could be the top, I'm looking at my digestive enzymes right here, the top supplements that we predict for the new year. What are they? Make your prediction. If you're an expert in this space, you wrap your expertise around it and you say, hey, here are my top predictions for supplements for the first part of 2024. And why? One I know guaranteed will probably be vitamin D. So if you're an expert in a specific, very niche industry, make sure you're creating this list, pitch it to the media. If nobody's picking it up, it ends up being social media for you or a blog post. So the next thing you can do too, which is a sneaky trick, which I love, is scheduling your pitches to go out. So hey, if it's that time of year and it's the week between like Thanksgiving and something else, or those weird 2 weeks around Christmas and New Year, which is like the 2 weeks you absolutely shouldn't be pitching because journalists are typically out on holiday. It's a great time of year to write your pitches and schedule them to go out about 2 or 3 business days after people get back from work. So there's no excuse. There's no excuse to not be pitching because you can schedule. You can use a tool like Boomerang if you use Gmail. I use Boomerang all the time. I can schedule my emails to go out at a later date. And so I go through my media list. I look, what are the opportunities? Who do I need to either follow up with or pitch? And I schedule those emails to go out at a later date so that I don't forget. And because I have more free time on my hands, because I'm not actively pitching, I have the time to actually schedule those emails. So the next thing too, like I mentioned, is always to look at what's happening in the next 3, 6, 12 months. Where do you need to be? What are you doing? What is the angle and the hook that we can wrap around a book launch or a new program that you're launching or a collaboration? Maybe it's a masterclass, a workshop, an event, something. Whatever you're actively doing, what are the angles? What's the hook around it? And then look at what needs to be done in the next 3 to 6 months. So this is really a good time of year to be strategizing and to be making sure that your content is ready to go when you're back from the holidays. Okay, you wild thing, you can throw out that scruffy media pitch now. No more poring over bland pitches, wasting countless hours trying to piece your story together, wondering where to send it and who will even care. You know that landing media coverage is the number one way to claim your seat at the table, and you're savvy enough to know it's time to bring in an expert. That's why we've created a system to take the guessing game of PR off your plate. One day, one investment, all the value. Get your PR strategy in hand sooner with our VIP days. It's strategy over breakfast and PR ready by dinner. Picture this: a world-class PR strategy created for your business by an award-winning publicist with 12 plus years of industry experience, and not just an upgraded version of a dull media kit, but a custom plan that's strategically crafted to capture the attention of journalists and influencers. No fill-in-the-blank, bare-bone type templates. Just a detailed roadmap to move your brand forward without the agency price. And this isn't a course. Here's exactly what you'll walk away with. All of this custom media kit, pitch angles for podcast, print, and TV, curated podcast list of over 50 vetted shows, one press release, confidence to pitch at your own pace, custom training videos to show you the way, plus a month of follow-up support with me. If you want in to this amazing VIP day, simply go to wewildwomen.com/VIP day to either fill in the application if you're ready to do it or schedule a call if you want more. That's wewildwomen.com/VIP day. The other thing too is a really good time of year is to start batching your social content. So if you've been actively doing social media, go to your analytics, take a look at the things that worked really well in the last 2 or 3 months and create more content around that style, whether it's the format that has been getting a lot of traction, could be a reel, carousel post, maybe it's on TikTok, maybe it's LinkedIn articles that you're doing. Look at all of the activities you're doing for social and really gauge what's working, and then just go deep on that and create the strategy. So maybe if you're writing LinkedIn articles and you're doing it weekly and you're starting to see momentum, then how about you start preparing those articles for the next quarter? What can you write now or outsource now? What outlines need to be created? And how can you splice that up into social media content? So batch that social media content now. And then when it comes to actually like taking time off, is be mindful of the days and the buffers between those business days. If you're active on social, find out if, so for instance, for journalists, because people still have to work. People have jobs, they need to get paid, is not everyone has 2 weeks off during the holidays. And a lot of journalists are active on social media. So you can get a sense if they're traveling, if they're off, if you've subscribed to their Substack, you'll know if they've taken holidays. So actively be understanding where these journalists are in terms of their availability. And if you know they're still working, then now's a good time to pitch. And if not, like I said, schedule the pitches, schedule the follow-ups to go at a later date. Really, there's no excuse. So we might take this time to catch up on email or be with family, and that's great. But if you're actively in the circus of pitching, of putting yourself out there to be on podcasts and shows, don't slow that momentum. And don't also overwhelm yourself with the fact that people are on holidays. Like I said, you can schedule all this stuff, but also look at other opportunities. Look at other people in your industry. What are they doing? How can you leverage their actions? Or maybe it's time to really step away and take a couple days not connected and brainstorm ideas of how you can come back into the 2024, into the new year with a better mindset and a better approach to social and a better approach to pitching and PR. I wanted to come at you with this quickie right now because I was sitting in my husband's Empire Builder event, and one of the questions that came up from somebody who is a successful female entrepreneur was about personal branding. And Taylor Welch, his answer was just don't stop that momentum. It's like once you've started, it's not going to be perfect. You're going to post crap on social that's going to get 2 views. You're going to show up for podcasts that don't get any downloads. Listen, I don't have the world's top podcast and I still keep showing up. I'm in a hotel room right now with none of my equipment, with none of the preparations for my notes, but I'm still here. It is scrappy, it is imperfect, but the most important thing is the fact that I am showing up and I'm here. And I actually got a ding because somebody is waiting for me in the lobby because I have a meeting right now. So all these things are happening. But if you are committed to a process, if you're committing to podcasting, if you're committing to pitching, if you're committing to social media, don't slow that momentum just because it's the holidays. There are things you can do now to buffer the time when everybody's busy and when you're busy, whether it's delegating to a team, really taking the tips that I suggested today. The other thing too is, so referring back to episode 219 on imperfect action, I also want you to tune into episode 213 when I talk about the importance of social media and PR, because it'll give you some sort of insight into what podcast hosts and journalists might be looking to when it comes to people that have a social presence online. Before I go, it's really important to me because the whole goal of this podcast is to really help community of female entrepreneurs grow and prosper and be inspired and motivated to take themselves or their businesses to the next level, to put themselves out there, to grow social media, to grow their podcast, whatever it is that they're doing. The one way to get there is to help promote this show. So if you wanted to share a link with this episode or the show to a friend, share it on social, really would be amazing. Also, more importantly, maybe, is if you could leave me a review and some stars to help boost the show. That would be such a gift for me this time of year. So all this to say is don't slow the momentum. Take this time of year to strategize, to prepare. And until next time, ladies, peace out. So there you have it. Thank you for tuning in to another episode of Into the Wild. To make this girl happy and to help reach other women who are dreaming of starting their business, please leave us a 5-star review on iTunes and everywhere you listen in. Also, if you want to find me in the wild, check me out on Instagram at Renee_Warren. That's RENEE_WARREN. And leaving you with one of my favorite tips of all time: the best advice you could ever receive is from someone who has successfully done it before you. Until next time, ladies, peace out.